One fine day, I was just walking down the lane and I said, "Sir, I want to do this business. Let me find a way to approach him and let's go." This is 1 year before we go on floors. So it was a journey of a year. He told me to meet. I met him in Delhi. He told me, I will read the script and then I will do it on merit. And I'm telling this on camera. He did not charge a penny for the film. Even in fact, the whole crew hasn't charged a penny for the film because they were convinced that this is a film that they want to do rather than be associated with. I had narrated him everything when we were sitting in the hotel. The last word was, "Wow."
I wanted to ask you a bit about your growing up years. While researching a bit about you as well, I could understand that you have grown up in Delhi. Your parents, one of them being a retired army engineer, your dad, and your mother being a government teacher. I want to understand what was growing up like, what was the house like, what were the influences like, what kind of things you were reading, watching, and was there any influence of the family to do that? Some other influences, let's say friends, or where did art come to you?
Say my growing up years have always been, I was born in the 90s, and there has been, when you see my work and eventually when you see all of my work till the time I go off from this earth, will be mostly about nostalgia and different emotions related to nostalgia. Because what I have found throughout in my years is it's not about the past, but the memories that you have play a lot of role in telling and creating visual, audio, anything that you do. Memories and imagination. So when you combine all of this, mostly people say it becomes into magic realism. It comes naturally to me. I have always been brought up under areas which were aesthetically very sound. For example, I was born in New Delhi in an area, Lutyens Delhi. It was called Lodhi Road. It was a extremely cosmopolitan area with different people and with different statures all around. The whole spaces that we used to have, the visuals that we used to have, we are not able to grasp those kind of spatial visuals that we have right now at present. When we go to a different country, we say, this is a beautiful place. This has its own history. When we see a space, when we see a visual space, Lodhi Road played a huge part in my life. While I was growing up, my school, its name is Delhi Police Public School. So it was by the Delhi Police. It was a foundation school by the Delhi Police, specifically for the people who were in police and the others also. What I feel, and I truly would say I'm honored that it has one of the most aesthetically built school buildings that you will see in Delhi, or most probably in India also. It can challenge. It can come amongst the top 10. When you are very small, when you are very young, you are able to grasp many visuals. And innately you become experienced, or you would say, the pehli bar, for the first time you sketch, imaginative sketches. When you do, mostly in schools, we used to do still life while one person used to sit, become a model or something, and everyone used to sketch. It was mostly still life. But when we used to go to imaginative spaces, when we used to create spaces or create any, for example, a situation called rainy day, 35 people in the class would have 35 different rainy day situations according to their own spaces, according to their own visuals. Some used to draw their own police colonies, some used to draw their own spaces, some used to draw roads. What I want to express here is that mostly in my formative years of growing up, building spaces and the open spaces of skyline plus the structure has played a lot of part. When I shoot, it comes naturally to me. I have never, I would say, learned filmmaking technically, but most of it has come up from the spaces that I've grown up and observed. One part was the extremely cosmopolitan part in Delhi, and the other part that I grew up was Haridwar. So Haridwar is when you see at that point of time was a foothill technically, and it has played a huge part when we used to be there. So there are three different spaces involved, visual spaces involved. One is a river that is coming down, the other that are platforms, huge platforms where people activity is there, and the other part is the spatial living of the people who are running lodges, who have all of those hotels, everything around. So there was a lot of things happening around. Then I was fascinated by single screen theaters. There were times I'm writing a book called Ganga Talkies. It is Ganga Talkies. It is still there, present in Haridwar. Now it runs Bhojpuri films because single screens have gone out of fashion. As kids, we used to go to watch. I would not say them B grade cinema, but it was cinema that everyone was inclined to. What we have termed as B grade or A grade or C grade, there was nothing like that in those times. And single screen cinema also had a different palette altogether when it came to viewing. So it had a screen, then it had a stall. Stall, I would say, was a place where rickshaw pullers and many people who couldn't afford, or us tabke se, from that level of society who couldn't afford much but could watch Bachchan, but could watch Mithun. And I have seen that happening. People are throwing coins, people are dancing, and everything is happening. I've seen it from my own eyes. The other part was Regal Cinema in CP. In my 80s and 90s, I've seen a film like Dabang when people were dancing, Dabang 2. So these were the spaces that I have admired, have taken me a lot. I have taken a lot inside, and this shows in my visuals. When I try and shoot, when I try and say to my DPs that I would require this kind of a space to be done like this, with this kind of an aesthetic, with this kind of what I feel. And I mostly go by feeling, because when I see a visual, I don't know how many would relate to it, but when I see anything, a visual or anything, I have a feeling. For example, there are different memories associated with smell. So whenever you go in a space, you can smell a different kind of smell, or a repeated smell that you used to have in some place that you were there in your childhood or in your teens or in your ages. I have always been fascinated by all of these factors that are inherently present in nature, and I have subconsciously absorbed them. In my formative years, my father was a huge follower of Shailendra, the lyricist. Or in today's time, when we talk about lyrics in cinema, no one has ever had a word about Shailendra. So we had all those cassettes and everything, a huge chunk of cassettes of everything. So he used to tell me there are many people who've done a lot of work. There are many people who've done quantity work. There are many people who've done quality work. So he said that the people who have careers, for example, nowadays lyric writers have a career of 500 songs, but Shailendra Saab had a career of 900 hit songs. What he meant to say was, it is all not given to you, or you absorb it. You can't make something out of it. It comes to you and you just distill it out. You translate it out. Be it any art that you are painting, be it music, be it craft, be it cinema, anything. The better the artist is, the more he or she knows how to distill it better. Technically, when we were growing up, I was in my teens, I used to travel a lot. From 18 to 21, computers were running on our heads, Pentium 4. Now, when I see that people are going crazy about technology, basically what I want to say is, I am a generation who technically belongs to transition. So whenever we have seen every transition happening. Black and white was going off, color television was coming, and the cables were also coming. Then we saw from cables to DTH. Then we saw everything was changing from music, from cassettes to CDs to pen drives, from floppies bhi thi beech mein. These were my years when I've seen things transitioning and up fast. We have to keep everything up. From the age that I come in, and when I see and when I work, everything is changing for me like in a month. Technologies, for example, when I say I will shoot it with this camera, when I see it is going to happen, the newer camera has come which has better XYZ of components. You have to shoot it with that. You have to make yourself acquainted with that. From 21, major my teen years, these were the formative years when I started watching and viewing films. Mostly we used to watch different films. My father also make me used to see, but he used to जो डीडी पे फिल्में आया करती थी, mostly we used to see that. But his pointers were, these films are okay. When we saw Waqt for the first time, yeah, Mother India for the first time, Mughal Azam for the first time, Pakistan for the first time, he said these are good films. You have to see what Sohrab Modi used to do. You have not seen the major kind of cinema that was there present. These were the major I would say spaces. Vahi Shantaram. His name was Vahi Shantaram. V Shantaram. So you used to say, now when you see credits, when we see opening and end credits, Vahi Shantaram was one person who had the most creative opening and end credits. और इन लोगों की फिल्में, the most of their films were not on national television at that point of time. Then he told me that you should see. So when all of this torrent and wave came, I downloaded everything. And those times were there when I used to. So I started off with the American cinema at that point of time. And then there was a friend of mine in the colony. We used to download and challenge each other. Have you seen this? Have you seen this? Every time there was a competition. We drifted away from the major mainstream American cinema and started watching all of the international cinema. And I would like to thank UTV World at that point of time. There was a channel, World Movies. I do not know at that point of time what was happening. I used to switch on the TV, UTV World Movies was coming, और वो मजीदी की the first film that I saw was Song of Sparrows, और वो बीच में से कहीं से चलती थी. It was from in between, and I just stopped at it and started looking at it. मतलब मैं पूरी देख गया, and it was almost from the middle of it. I said, "What is this? I have never seen this kind of." And then I started upon researching everything.
The visuals you were mentioning, for example, you said in your school you were encouraged to sort of make these paintings in some sense. And I want to understand, how does filmmaker like you see cities, architecture, buildings differently?
I would say the way we are heading and the speed at which we are heading is not good, because aesthetically, what kind of spaces that we used to live in now, what are we doing? For example, when I say redevelopment, it is a redevelopment to accommodate the population, and to do that there is no innovation, there's only boxing of the spaces. The second point is, when we are doing things for aesthetics, they are not pleasing aesthetics. You go to our airports, you go to any places, installations are being done just for the purpose of installations. KR, something needs to be done. Ye art ka ye bana do. It is not like that, and it should not be like that. Some things are happening. For example, Aga Khan Foundation is doing a lot of things for restoration, and they are hiring a lot of people, and I would say good cartographers, good urban planners who are making the city look better. But they are in a space where only one cityscape will look better. For example, South Delhi, Lutyens Delhi, where government has their focus. I'm specifically talking about Delhi because I know in and out of Delhi in terms of but what about Ashram, the place I live in now? What about Lakshmi Nagar? These are the places which are built on the sands. Technically, they are the sands of Yamuna. The moment an earthquake comes, everything is going to collapse. Like anyhow. What I see now is nature will become nature and will be nature. So, जितने भी eagles होते हैं या जितना भी environment COVID के time पे what I used to observe, they know how to function, but we do not. In 2025 or approximately around 30, all of the old spaces which used to be there, for example, my space where I used to live in, or the other spaces will be gone, and there'll be new high rises. Probably I'll try and shoot and capture those. The same goes with the single screen cinemas also. Single screen cinema has had stall, and then they had the middle seating, and then they had the family seating. So I had family seating was always the balcony seating, and halls were made like that. Stall was the area where first 6 to 10 rows were there, then 10 to 20, 30, and the back rows and the balconies. So most of the families who used to go used to sit in the balconies. What I wanted to say is that every sect of society was accommodated for entertainment. Nowadays, I can't sit in multiplexes and see people dancing. I can't sit in multiplexes and see people crying. It's not about the purity of space, it's all about the purity of heart, how people used to rave for films. One thing also used to happen, this has also made me, I just wanted to share. What used to happen was, digitalization of cinema tab tak nahi hua tha. In India, it happened around 2010-11 when I had started working. So I had done my first independent feature, which was on a digital camera. Red was coming in and उनकी batteries जो होती थी वो 1 घंटे के अंदर batteries used to die out. Most of the times films were done on stocks and जो film reels आती थी वो 16, 32, 30 इस तरह के denominations में आती थी. For a town like Haridwar, there was also a theater in Mussoorie and Dehradun. So Delhi से reel चलती थी वो and they used to come to Meerut, then used to come to Muzaffarnagar, and then used to come to Haridwar, Roorkee, because of the IIT and everything, and then to Haridwar, and then to Dehradun and Mussoorie. Mussoorie only had one theater at that point of time, Picture Palace, and Dehradun had two, I think, and Haridwar had 2 to 3, Ganga and Chitra. Sometimes what happened was, हम लोग even us as kids used to speculate कि यार, for example, I remember मुझे कुछ कहना है used to had to come at that point of time. Tushar Kapoor and this Kareena Kapoor's film.
Yeah.
Popular film. But most of the people were like, yeah, we want to see this film, we want to see this film. And they were requesting the owner, because owners were mostly individuals, family people, XYZ. So we were requesting, yeah, this needs to be there. He told us that out of popular demand, Roorkee, say, it has gone directly to Dehradun and then has gone to Mussoorie. They have skipped Haridwar. So nowadays, it is the digital cinema projection is not like that it will skip a place. But films were in the space notorious. They had their own charm, and we used to wait that this is going to happen.
I want to ask firstly about Aapka Amitabh. I really liked the concept. I really loved. I think Kumud Mishra is an amazing personality. I love the way he smiles. I love the way he adds his own works as well. Could you just elaborate on the relationship you shared with him? What was the conversations like when you were giving him cues as a director, and what was he like on set?
This is a story in itself. When you are a debut director, be it any canvas, feature length, short film, I don't believe in canvases in terms of length of the film. Most of the people say it is a short film, it is a feature film. I had approached this film like any other film, and when you see the technicians, it is the same person who has done Padmavat and also has done Aapka Amitabh. I'm just sharing these because when you are debuting, it's about your conviction on the story. I had a word with my DP, Yasir sir, that one fine day I was just walking down the lane and I said, sir, I want to do this. Let me find a way to approach him and let's go. He said, Pallav, inherently, I also thought he will be the better person to do justice, but you see, how do you want to do? I said, I'm okay and I want to do it with him. This is 1 year before we go on floors. So it was a journey of a year. Then I had approached him, everything was happening, and he told me to meet. I met him in Delhi. Then he told me, I will read the script and then I will do it on merit. And I'm telling this on camera. He did not charge a penny for the film. Even in fact, the whole crew hasn't charged a penny for the film because they were convinced that this is a film that they want to do rather than be associated with. They were so convinced about it. When I narrated the script to everyone, they said, "Yaar, ye kab kar rahe ho batao? When are you planning to do this? I want to be." I had one prominent question that, does this work for you? What do you want to do? If you do not want to be a part of this, you can opt out at this point. Same I said to Kumudji. I had narrated him everything when we were sitting in the hotel that this is a major story what happened, and he was the last word was wow, and then he said, hey, just let me read the script and then I'll get back to you. He said yes. Then I had started searching for money, everything, funds and everything. Then I told him that we are going on floors, give me your dates. He gave me the dates and cut to we are on floors now. So day one, everyone is a little chaotic. Kumudji, how is going to happen? And we were shooting the terrace scene, whole ruckus scene where they go off and we said Subodh and him have a word कि वो वाला पूरा sequence जो था वो हम terrace पे shoot कर रहे थे. That terrace is a very old terrace also in Delhi and it's located behind the CP. It was a great terrace that we had found. We did not have any place to make him sit, and we did not want any ruckus to happen that people spot him and come and start, because we did not have any permission, any kind of thing that is required. So we did not have any permission. I said that I don't have any vanity or anything. He said, "Aap chinta mat kariye. I'm all fine." And I'm saying this out of all, I'm not exaggerating a bit. He said कि बस एक room उस रूम में we had a makeup person, बहुत simple makeup person. मैंने कहा मुझे makeup नहीं चाहिए, I do not want any makeup, I just need touch up because he needs to rehearse lines with me and everything. Everyone was like, yeah, we'll be able to do this, will we be able to do this, will we? I said, do not worry, because there's a panic situation happens कि यार terrace पे कर रहे हो, people will be seeing everything. Okay, do not worry, because I was convinced that once we get rolling, everything is going to flow really well. I think this is the rule that I followed the first day of shoot. Whatever the first day of the shoot tells you, the outputs of the first day will tell you how the film will go while shooting, while in production. He told me, Ke, Pallav, let's rehearse. I had a word, then I just gave him cues, lines, we rehearsed. And I said, sir, now I will shoot with you. I'm not going to take any camera rehearsals because light is going off. Or hum fatafat will kick this off. He said, okay. He came on the set. The moment he sat down, he made everyone so comfortable. So comfortable. I could see Mira monitor was like down and the terrace was a little up. 2, 3 steps I used to go up and then tell him that do this, do that, and the other actors. Everyone who was taking lines and cues, because there is a shot where children are flying kite, piche, and then you have the whole setup that they are talking. First day, it was like swoosh. 3 hours, 4 hours we shot, and we got everything, and the light was also great. Second day, we were in Gurgaon, the whole everything set up in the mental asylum setup. He said, "Ke I'm fine with whatever you want to do in terms of expressions." I said, "Ke let's flow, and I will do it in the last." So the opening of the film is actually night that you see. We have shot it in the night. The whole opening, when the voiceover is happening and the pullback shot is happening, we are all night. We have lit it such that it looks like a day or an afternoon space. My whole crux of the point is that he followed me like a baby, knowing he's a debut director but knows what he wants. He said, if you're okay with the lines, if you're okay with the take, I'm okay. He did not see the monitor even once throughout the film. कि मैं कैसा लग रहा हूँ, how am I looking, how the lines are going. He said, if you're okay, I'm okay. And at last, when we completed with him, he is one person who is genuinely a great artist and filled with humility. And once anyone works with him with honesty, he appreciates his honesty, his or her honesty, that, and he goes with his 100%. So you will see many of his films which are not doing well, but when you see his character, you will see him performing throughout because he is giving his heart and soul. Be it any out and out commercial film which is working or not working, and be it any film which comes under the domain of art. So that was my experience, and I still meet him. We have a chat, long chats. He tells me about his experiences. I tell him about my experiences. So it has turned it from what I would say is I have learned a lot from him, and it is a mentor disciple relationship.
Talking about Aapka Amitabh, so the character of Kumud Mishra had a dilemma, or what to say, has done isolation in himself only, because he was having an internal conflict of the character. So how means what was the idea behind it? That it was a little bit surrealistic also, as you mentioned that you love magic realism also, means while you were talking about your means past days, school days. So means how you write those characters and how you means thought of the premise and portrayed it.
What I would say is this is a basic technique when people say that conflicts creates drama or anything. I do not know, but inherently I have always been fascinated and have been able to distill out, because when I say that I have made this film, I am I'm not doing right or doing justice, because a film, when it gets made, it is not it is many of the elements coming together and forming up. बहुत सारी फिल्में, there are many films who do not get made, who do not see the light of getting into production, but only remain on paper. To answer your question specifically about conflicts, more work you will eventually see. There are external conflicts that you will see on the above layer of my film, upar ki, on the superficial level, but they will mostly be about internal conflicts and internal conflicts dealing about past. So when you see Aapka Amitabh, it is an internal conflict dealing about his past. Antim part, internal conflict of the teacher and the editor who used to be the student dealing about their past. Tattvamasi is also a retrospective. When I wrote it, all of the three films have just come. I wouldn't say I have written anything. I've just distilled them out. Cut. Because Antim Part is totally based on the short story by Alphonse Daudet, The Last Lesson. Everyone might have read it or they have gone through it. But my basic thing of doing it was that language upon language makes a lot of change in the society, and it changes a lot of mindsets. So when you are dealing with a lot of different conflicts and changing of mindsets, it excites me. Like in Aapka Amitabh, I am creating a conflict externally that letters are missing, everything is going on through a part of a person, and he is unable to express where are the letters gone, and his truth lies on those letters. But his internal conflict is to repeatedly tell people that I am not lying. It is the truth. And now is not the time when we talk about time zones or timelines that people believe in the truth which comes from the word of mouth. People believe when it comes on paper, in picture, anything like the quotes. Same goes with Antim Part. People having conflicts and going into their past. This is one thing that happened. Now I can't do anything because everything has gone from a different stage. For example, I'll give you a parallel to the whole things. It is not on Hindi. People mostly say, this is on Hindi and what about the other languages and XYZ. Hindi is a tool. I would like to clarify through this medium, Hindi is a tool in the film. Language. For example, during the times of Kalidas, Sanskrit was the language of poet. और जो बाकी dialects और भाषा होती, they were not the language of poet, but they were the language of people. Sanskrit was scholarly, but Sanskrit dominated. You will call that aggression, but no, it happens every time, and it brings a change in the society. Same goes when Hindi or English or any regional language. Now, for example, anything happens and we go off from English to slangs throughout. Slang becomes a language in itself, for example, and slang has its own dictionary and people, because grammatically everything is going off. It will become a language in itself now, where we see English like I am talking, like everyone is talking. It is a language in itself. It has accrued from a different past. So I will also have a conflict, internal conflict, that why am I not able to speak exactly one state of English, purest English, or one state of Hindi, purest Hindi. It has dominated. I get excited, and mostly I like to play with that internal conflicts and the external conflicts on the face of the film.
About Aapka Amitabh and Antim Part, I find these two films as a means unique style of using voiceovers of telling the story, means taking the story forward of the protagonist. And while we see that Tattvam Asi, so that film has a conversational pattern, but that also is internal. Means he is speaking to his characters which are not real. And also there is, as you mentioned, Amit Datta influence in Tattvam Asi, the colors and all. So can you please tell about the voiceover tool that you use, means how you see it as a tool of the protagonist, tell the story, enhance the story forward?
Most of the people say voiceovers are easy, or voiceovers are one thing that are able to just match the visuals or do transitions technically. They might be correct in their own ways, but I have always used voiceovers as it plays in our memories, as it plays in our thoughts. I would not compare it to kind of cinema that Terence Malick is into, but it has also been one space that I have really loved to do. And I will keep on doing it until I come up with something. For example, Tarkovsky used to do it without any voice, sounds and images. My cinema has always been when you say verbose cinema. For example, nowadays in commercial spaces, Noah Baumbach does it. Richard Linklater does it. A lot of talk that is internal, a lot of talk that is external. But that talk through words converts into realism and then back to internal conflict or internal discussion.
I want to understand from you as well, setting it in an Indian context, setting it in a sense that English is taking over in Hindi, in the most literal sense, if I have to say that. Is there some sense of, I don't know, some sense of anger within you about it, some sense of just because nostalgia and thinking of things about in retrospect is something that you tend to do in your films. I want to understand where is that coming from?
I would say one thing. There are two different approaches to it. I was a very scientific person at a certain point of time in my life, and now I have not turned, but I have more gone towards the Oriental aspect or the Eastern aspect of what we are in terms of Indianness, I would say, or Bharatiyata. I have reasons for it. It's not anger or angst or anything when I made this film. To be very, very honest, Hindi was just a tool. What I feel is the Western understanding, overall Western understanding of, for example, if I say time, their Western understanding of time is in linear fashion. The Eastern understanding of time is a cyclical fashion. If we say that we are going from Satyug to Treta to Dwapar to Kalyug, we are going towards doomsday, and then destruction will happen, and then creation will happen. Then we come to Satyug, then the whole cycle repeats. Languages inevitably will be coming and going off. That I mentioned in that example, during the time of Kalidas, Sanskrit, it was, it was not a common man's language, it was also a common man's language. Like English has also become a common man's language at this point of time in 2020. When I see, I can, anyone who has to work and write on WhatsApp, for example, any servant, he has to know how to answer yes, he has to know how to answer no, okay, voice message and everything. So technology and the whole advancement has played a lot of part in it, and they will keep on. So languages will become different languages in terms of their utilities. For example, slangs have become language. So for example, in English, there'll be a different form of, for example, when I see many people writing TC for take care, many people writing FYI. So it will become a language in itself. And eventually, when you see, you will say, yeah, what is FYI? So everyone will understand. We will not be able to understand, and it will eventually be used in writing also. So it is not angst. It was just that, again, to come back, that it is a transition that eventually is going to happen. I used to have anger when this used to happen, but it's not anger now. The acceptance of the part that this is going to happen. Eventually, it is going to happen. In contemporary Indian society, anyone goes to a job, it is his or her eligibility to know basic English. It is not an eligibility to know the regional language or the Hindi language, but it is an eligibility to know basic English, which makes you qualified for any particular job, for any working class, for any social class. So it is inevitably happening, and it will keep on happening. So English or short form of English, for example, or any form of language, it will keep on transitioning. My point was only that the language in which you think should not die. If it dies, it is your responsibility to, because you will not be able to create and you will not be able to do anything if you stop thinking from the native language that you've been knowing.
What was the idea behind making the film Tatvamasi, and what was the whole writing process? Did you get a visual on which you decided to build on, or did you get an idea on which you decided to bring in these particular visuals? What was the basic ideation and writing process?
Tatvamasi the script has been written in 1 hour 10 minutes, and it is one first draft that I've shot. I've not changed even a bit of it. Something, I'm accepting it extremely honestly, I have not. It has come and I've just put it down on paper with all the words, with all the visuals, with all things that you see. It has all come within that span of 1 hour 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and I've put it down on paper. So actually, I don't know. And it just happened to me that I was lying down. Mostly what happens is that I try and find ki kuch ho. I was searching for something to write, but I was not able to write anything. So I said, let's drop off. Let's not write anything. And I had stopped writing for about 6 months, 7 months. I said, I don't want to write anymore. It's because it takes a lot from you. When you write, when you make films, it is a process that takes a lot from you, but it also purifies you. For me, to answer your question in one part, I had no ideation. I'm accepting it honestly. I had no ideation. I had no visual in mind. I had nothing. The only part that came to me, the opening visual just came. There's a vase, there's a fruit, and there's a compass. And technically, I changed that, but it just came, and then I started writing upon everything, and it just came. So the other film that I'm writing in this palette only is Appa Bhava. It has already been written. It will be a feature length, but it is coming to me in parts. So one part has come. The other part, I don't know when it will come. One part I'll be shooting in a few months, and then the other part will come. This has been the process with me in creating this kind of palette that you are able to see in Tatvamasi. And Tatvamasi is one thing that I've learned a lot from. Well, it just comes to you, stands in your face, smashes you, you go out, and then you just shoot. It says make me. It was just like that. I just can't say that how have I done. I cannot take credit in that. It just came and I just exploded it down, and I've just written it down, and it has guided me throughout. What I can say is divine intervention. I would say I just distilled it. I'm just a medium to write that kind of thing. It might seem a little odd or irregular, but I had searched upon this, that how can this happen? Maybe thoda I was not in a space to digest this, but Elizabeth Gilbert, Eat, Pray, Love's writer, had given a TED talk, and I found that TED talk, and she had explained this in a 20-minute video, that how does this happen. And Stephen King's On Writing, I read them before, but it was my experiential learning in abiding to those what they are actually saying. When Stephen King tells you that writing is telepathy, and that is what I crave for. That is what I've always craved for, the magic that writing can do.
Just to spice things up, Pallav, I thought we can do a small, quick, rapid fire sort of a thing. So we ask these interesting questions to whoever joins us and see what they have, what their thoughts are on that. So I'll just ask questions. आपको जो भी ध्यान में पहले, whatever comes to your mind first. Just let's see how that goes. Any top 3 filmmakers that have influenced your work the most?
Extremely difficult, but Tarkovsky, Bresson, Kurosawa, Kiarostami, Yasujiro Ozu, Manikol Saab, Kumar Sani Saab, Mr. Datta. I can go on and on. Terence Malick, Paul Thomas Anderson. In contemporary times, Noah Baumbach, Mizoguchi, Godard, De Sica, Sohrab Modi Saab, in fact, Shailendra Saab, Gulzar Saab. His films, Shailendra Saab's film when he died, Teesri Kasam. Everyone should see that.
Amazing. Okay, the next question I have for you is a little bit about books as well, like because you mentioned you are into reading as well. So any 3 authors, any 3 specific books you would like to talk about that you have read growing up, or any writers that have influenced you a lot?
I have started reading very late, but I have read Hindi a lot. तो मैं हिंदी के लिए सबसे ज़्यादा बोलूँगा, because most of the people haven't read Hindi stuff, और उसमें सिर्फ प्रेमचंद ही नहीं है, प्रेमचंद के अलावा भी पूरी दुनिया है. When I go through is Hazari Prasad Dwivedi is one writer that everyone should at least, if not read, research upon. Anam Das Ka Potha, I think you will be able to read it. Anam Das Ka Potha by Hazari Prasad Dwivedi is a must for whoever wants to delve into the kind of Hindi that everyone wants to explore. Amritlal Nagar, Hazari Prasad Dwivedi, these are the authors that are. Amritlal Nagar has, मतलब जिस तरह की biographies कोई लिख सकता है, like Irving Stone has written Lust for Life, Van Gogh's biography, and Michelangelo's biography, Agony and Ecstasy. Same he has written for Tulsidas. It's called Manas Kahans. Beautiful biography, and they have been written on the dates. मतलब वो उस तरह का dedication था कि रामनवमी पे वो शुरू होती है किताब. You will be able to see that कि रामनवमी पे he starts and he ends it on a Dashera. So it's a whole journey. And then Manas Kahans is Tulsidas biography. Then Khanjan Nayan is Surdas's biography. Beautiful books. Amritlal Nagar. Then Hazari Prasad Dwivedi's Maan Bhatt ki Atmakatha hai. Charu Chandra Lekh hai. Beautiful. Magic realism, if you want to read Charu Chandra Lekh, is one thing that you can literally read. Dharamveer Bharti has played a lot of role. Gunaahon Ka Dev. Matlab, when you read that book, you will see what storytelling can do to you, what characterizations can do to you. That kind of writing is there. Then Saadat Hasan Manto Saab, I have read Manto in my formative years from 17, 18, 20. Short story से ही शुरू किया था. विनोद कुमार शुक्ल जी, नौकर की कमीज, मैजिक रियलिज्म. विनोद कुमार शुक्ल जी तो अभी वो है, but Nirmal Verma is one. If someone wants to see how to write it in first person and his memories, every line starts, or every para, or every books, he becomes a character who is an observer of different characters. निर्मल वर्मा की चाहे वो एक चित्रा सुख हो या अंतिम अरण्य हो, ब्यूटिफुल बुक्स. इंग्लिश में मार्सेल प्रूस्ट मेमोरीज ऑफ टाइम, जो उसका ट्रांसलेशन था फ्रेंच से हिंदी, मतलब आई डोंट नो फ्रेंच, तो वो इंग्लिश पूरा वो है. हिंदी में राहुल सांकृत्यायन इज वन ट्रैवल राइटर that when people say that India doesn't have travel writers like Kerouac, or Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance was one book that I really loved. Rahul Sankartayan's Ghumakkad Shastra is 100 pager, 110, 120 pager, but it talks a lot. Then Rolwa se Ganga tak, Buddhism के ऊपर उन्होंने बहुत कुछ लिखा है. Rahul Sankartayan is one person that needs to be read by any generation that is born in India and wants to know about what travel in India is and has been. और बौद्ध दर्शन के ऊपर भी वो ट्रैवल में बहुत सारी चीजें बताते हैं. Herman Hesse's Siddhartha everyone has read, but everyone, मतलब what I feel is my favorite book of his is Narcissus and Goldmund. I don't know anyone hasn't made a film on. Narcissus and Goldmund is one film which talks about spirit, is a book which talks about spirit and flesh. And two of them, Narcissus is one character and Goldmund is one character. Both are monks. And Goldmund runs away from the Book of Imaginary Beings by George Louis Borges. George Louis Borges has also played a lot of influential part. Then Virginia Woolf also. Then Doris Lessing is one writer that everyone should check out at least. And Hindi में भी ये contemporary जैसे निर्मल वर्मा है, and one writer, if anyone wants to read about पानी, अनुपम मिश्र was one. आज भी खड़े हैं तालाब, जो spaces, planning, पानी, इन सब के बारे में. And then सुपान जोशी's book जल थल मल, contemporary books ये दोनों हैं जिनको पढ़ सकते हैं. और हम आज की सोसाइटी के बारे में we can know how what simple writing can do to you and explain what society has been going through in terms of resources. R.K. Narayan's Malgudi Days it is also one great thing, but wants to go through Malgudi Days, there is one chunk called Mithai Wala. So जब ये OTT और इस सब का वेब सीरीज का टाइम नहीं आ रहा, तो मिठाई वाला was once chunk in Malgudi Days that has been made into episodes also. Malgudi Days have also shaped visuals that I've seen because we used to see it on DD.
What would you prefer to be called as in a person who made 10 good films or somebody who made one great film? And second thing I wanted to ask you was, as you know, the abstract community, our community has people from different walks of life who are not necessarily only filmmakers or aspiring filmmakers. There are people like me, there are people like others who are in different walks of life, but are trying to stay connected to art by remaining a part of a community, by joining sessions, talking to people like you, watching films, doing other things as well. Any advice on how we can appreciate art better?
I won't feel like to call anything a sort of a one great filmmaker or 10 great filmmaker. I'm just a person who's expressing and trying to express. I will die when I stop expressing. That is the simple funda of my life that I've learned now and have been following it. But I am a person who follows discipline. I am extremely disciplined now, and I've become disciplined. So what I can say is, to appreciate any form of art or to pursue any form of art requires discipline. And it's not about discipline on terms of physical levels, in total, your discipline of perception, your discipline of doing things. For example, when we say we are creating something, so every time you will not be able to hit a 6 or a 4. You have to keep on batting, you have to keep on practicing or appreciating. I would say, to keep on doing things better, you should keep on practicing it better. As in terms of, if you move the step ahead, it's also a step. But your mind will play again, okay, it's nothing is happening. It's a repetitive step. It's a repetitive process. It might look boring at a certain point of time, that why am I doing this? Why am I doing that? But eventually the beauty lies there when you start seeing. For example, I would say that you were writing 10 pages a day, or you were doing anything, and then you see it the next day and you say, yeah, I'm not able to write, but you get 2 words and you sit like, these are, they have now. I can build upon that. Same goes with, I would say, art and appreciation of art. I feel appreciation of art, there's no distinction between appreciation of art or art. We have made distinctions. I would say it's about following what you feel and keep on following it till you become better at it. Better in terms of when you go closer to that. You feel that, yeah, now I'm a little closer to that. Sometimes you need objectivity, which means you need to pull back a little, but that is the part of process. Process is very important for me.